I just bought this 2001 Toyota Landcruiser. She's been off the road since 2016 and there's a few issues with her, to say the least.
Which poses a number of problems. You see, I'm not a trained mechanic. And I've never worked on one of these cars before.
But I am going to do absolutely everything in my power to bring this old girl back to life and put her back on the road.
That means I have to work out why she was parked up for 8 years. I'll be fixing some major issues, spending all my money.
£1,091.87.
£1,091.
And then putting her through one of the most rigorous government safety inspections in the world. This car is going to push me to my limit.
What do I do for the... But first, we need to talk about the Landcruiser.
A car so reliable, so hardy, so capable that it can be found in some of the harshest terrain on planet Earth. From the jungles of the Congo to the deathly desert plains of Australia. A car so hard, it even has a war named after it.
I'm not even joking, it's got its own page on Wikipedia and everything.
These cars never go wrong.
They don't break down that much.
Their reliability is legendary. This one, however, didn't get that memo. At the very least, she needs a small lick of paint, 2 new front wings, along with a couple of fog lights, a new indicator, probably new discs and pads all round because, well, just look at them. And then there's the interior.
So it absolutely hums. I don't know what's happening here other than I think there's been a bit of moisture ingress, and I can tell that because, well, there's loads of moisture and mould down there in the passenger footwell, which is, oh god, it absolutely stinks.
And I was in for a nice surprise under the bonnet too.
Where's the what's it? Okay.
This is the legendary Toyota 2UZ FE engine. It's a 4.7 litre naturally aspirated petrol V8, and usually they're bomb-proof. And I'm told this one has 200,000 miles.
Okay, so first impressions are the engine cover's missing. There's an airbox that should go in here, really quite big airbox, and the tube obviously going into the throttle body. Straight away, obviously, the first thing I actually saw just then was this. I'm gonna have to find out what happened here.
The cam belt and sprocket hanging off like this is not normal, but more on that shortly, because it was time for Wayne from Blackwell Transport, my go-to guy, to get the old girl loaded onto the trailer and taken back to my workshop. And whilst it was up on the trailer, I did manage to build up just enough courage to check out the rust situation.
Yeah, no, it's absolutely perfect. No rust, nothing. Yeah, pretty pleased. Pretty pleased with that. Okay, I'm not gonna lie to you, I am excited. I am excited for this one. Where's the... Oh boy though, oh boy, have I got my work cut out for me. Question, where do you begin with a car like this? Answer, in the engine, the heart of the beast, because if the engine isn't viable mechanically, then there's just simply no point looking at any of the other issues. Okay, so I've spent a little more time now just kind of studying the engine with the old eyeballs without actually doing anything as such. Now, obviously, the headline news is what's going on here. Now, I don't know if this is a snapped belt. I mean, if I really pull that, it doesn't budge an inch. A snapped belt is one of the absolute worst things that can ever happen to an engine, especially an interference engine, which this is. So a cam belt or a timing belt, their primary job is to, funnily enough, keep the engine in time. What that means is the pistons going up and down in the cylinders need to be operating in time with the exhaust and the inlet valves in the cylinder head. And they have to all move at the right time. It's kind of like this. If these components are not in time, it means that the valves will be opening and the piston will be travelling up at the wrong time, and they could potentially collide with one another. Now, if a really heavy, fast-moving piston is going up in the cylinder and the exhaust valves and the inlet valves are going down, they collide, and there can be catastrophicness associated with that. Whew. So the only thing to do here was to investigate further. I think the thing to do is let's pull this, oh, it's finger tight. Of course it's finger tight, I mean, look at it. Let's just pull this off now. Ah! I don't think I know. I found the issue. Yeah, so that's a new sprocket. Oh, nice. So what I'm thinking is that the old cam sprocket obviously was on there. It was all fitted. It was hunky-dory. It was very happy where it was. Then this lip and this pin here have snapped. The belt would have been on here and the crankshaft would have been turning this still. Now this has started spinning independently of the camshaft, because that there is going to be the camshaft that's poking out of the cylinder head. So this is basically the same as having a belt snap. Precisely what we didn't want. The only thing to do at this stage was to keep investigating further to check for any more damage, which meant removing the rocker cover.
Get off.
And what it revealed was... Oh, it doesn't look like the camshafts have snapped, but you can see in there, you can see quite how long this car must have been sitting, because all of these lobes, look, they've all collected a nice layer of rust. Look at that one down there, look. So I whipped out my cheapo camera and poked it into the engine to inspect all of the cylinders. And what I saw really surprised me. I couldn't see any evidence of damage. You know what, I haven't even checked to see if this car has got any oil in it. Let's have a look. Yeah, it's, well, not only is it over full, but doesn't smell like there's any fuel in it, but that oil is extraordinarily clean, as in, that looks like absolutely brand spanking new oil. Fine with it. So why is there brand spanking new oil in this engine? Is it because this engine has been subject to oil starvation and someone went, uh-oh, well, let me see if I put some oil in it then and see if that helps things out. Oh no, and then logically, can we conclude that this cam pulley snapped off, not because there was anything kind of inherently wrong going on here, but because this all seized up, and then with the crank still spinning and pulling on the belt, it sheared off. Have I just bought a completely trash motor, haven't I? I always seem to get myself into these situations. And the situation was about to get a whole lot worse, because at this precise moment, the missus decided to turn up to see how well I'd been spending our money. Hello.
Oh no.
Yeah, it's not good. Well, so far, it looks like it's had a lot of damage to the engine, and it might have been subject to oil starvation.
Well, that's a nice £2,000 wasted.
£2,000. You spent £2,000 on that janky old Landcruiser. So the stakes have now just increased. I need to prove to the missus that this isn't £2,000 wasted. Anyway, it's obvious that at the bare minimum, this engine needs a new camshaft. So I got straight to work seeing to that. And if it looks like I know what I'm doing here, then you need to know that I don't. I did have help from my secret weapon. What I've got here is the official, genuine factory workshop, engine manual workshop. And I'm not going to tell you how much I paid for that. It was the only one available for sale. It'd be embarrassing if I told you how much I paid for it. £115. Okay, these caps are starting to come off, and, well, I mean, I'm no mechanic, but it's not looking good. I mean, this one here that I've just pulled off has got corrosion on the inside of the journal there, or the, what are these called? Caps? Something like that. See that? Corrosion on the inside. Interesting.
And because I'm really not a mechanic, it's really difficult for me to interpret exactly what I'm seeing here. So I decided to call in friends of the channel, Talk Monkey, who are actual professionals.
To be honest, these cams are, this is damn clean. They've still got one hell of a point on them.
I was just trying to work out if the engine had oil starvation.
It's how many miles? To be fair, with
It's
the
got nearly
mileage,
200,000.
to be fair, with the mileage it's on, you will see some.
Yeah.
You will always see some scoring on there after a certain amount of mileage, or maybe a lack of oil changes, something like that. The cams look surprisingly very, very good. I've got to be honest.
I thought you were going to say they look horrendous, because I'm looking at them, I'm like, oh, they've got rust all over them.
Yeah, that makes
They're
nothing
bad.
like-
Apart from this, though. I mean, that's obviously, so it's
That's-
still going to need a
that's-
camshaft, because that is the camshaft.
I mean, I don't know. There is a chance you could put cam in it
And it just works.
That sounds like a plan to me. Just put a new camshaft in it. Now, the only tricky thing with that is that I need to source a new camshaft. And this is a 23-year-old car with an engine that didn't sell in any great numbers in this country. But because I was feeling lucky, I decided to test that luck by calling Toyota themselves.
Good afternoon, Toyota.
Hiya. I might be clutching at straws here, but I've got a 2001...
They are still available in the price of £1,091.87. That's all right, you're welcome.
Cheers, mate. Bye. £1,091 for one camshaft. Let's try some other avenues. I got your number from eBay.
Have you got any picture? Because I have one, his engine is stripped.
Okay, yeah, I've got a photo that I can send you. I've found your number on eBay. You look like you're breaking Landcruiser.
I haven't got one.
No.
They don't break down that much, so people don't rebuild them that much.
Yeah, I've probably got the only one that's ever broken then. The first guy who I've been talking to, whose WhatsApp profile picture is this, which I actually thought was quite funny. He might actually have one. We're having a bit of a broken English kind of conversation on WhatsApp. We'll see what happens, see if he comes in with the goods. Right, so it is actually about 3 weeks later now from everything that you've just seen. However, I have had a little bit of progress on the camshaft front. So you know the guy with the hilarious WhatsApp profile photo? So he said £180 for that camshaft and also for the plastic cover that goes on the front, which I have here, because obviously that was missing from this one. So I got that and the camshaft for £180. It was all off eBay, so I just had to send him £180 bank transfer, hope that he wasn't having me on. But I am pleased to say he came through, and he came through in a big way. Here, ladies and gentlemen, is the second-hand replacement camshaft. Now, take a look at this. This here, this is the gold right there. It's so obvious. So obvious, but it's so bad. I don't know how that would have happened. So you see this whole thing, I don't know, this protrusion, and then this dowel. That is what has just snapped on there. So the dowel has come out, and that whole thing there is snapped. And then this is that new sprocket. So look, that cam sprocket goes on there. You can see the dowel in there. That all fits snugly, hunky-dory. Ladies and gentlemen, I think we're in business.
And I know there's now another bunch of people sitting there watching this and thinking, wait a minute, you can't just install that new camshaft and try and turn the engine on. You haven't even checked the whole other side of the engine to see if there are any issues with the camshaft or the valves there. And if I'm honest with you, I had exactly the same thought, and I did delve into that side. I put a camera down the bores and inspected the pistons. Everything looked absolutely jolly. I took the rocker cover off, inspected the camshaft, had a look at the buckets, and you can see that everything on this side is a lot less rusty. But at this point, we're still not ready to install the new camshaft. I need to check the timing gear that's on this car, particularly the condition of the belt, and that means stripping way more parts off of the engine to get to that point. I removed the fan using a hammer, pretty standard for me. Took the drive belt off, the idler pulleys and the tensioner. And then I was into the meat of it. I could pull off the crankshaft pulley using a special tool, which finally gave me access to the timing belt.
Okay, so there you can see the belt has gone around itself a little bit, almost just, but I think I should, excuse me, this is difficult to show, should be able now just to pull that belt off of the pulley. Yeah. Oh, finally. Right, so the belt isn't snapped. You know what, this could be the original this could be the original belt. It doesn't say Toyota, but it also doesn't say anybody else. I mean, it doesn't look in bad condition though either, to be honest. I don't know, but now really is the moment of truth. And that moment of truth is now that the camshaft and the crankshaft are not connected anymore, and it means that the exhaust valves will not open. This means I can now turn the crankshaft and the pistons can go up and down and they won't be meeting the valves. The valves should be closed, which then means we should now be able to see if the engine is seized or not. And if this engine is seized, let's not even think about that. Let's just see the result. Please, please, come on. Oh, yeah, easy. Definitely not seized. That is very easy to move. Yeah. Look at that. There's obviously, this is really easy to spin as well because all the spark plugs are out, so there's no compression on the engine. Get in. I think we're in business. We could now well be in business. I need to just work out what I'm doing here now. Right, there's like a million things going on. I've got to just process this just for a second and then formulate a plan. And formulate a plan I did. And it was a remarkably simple plan at that. And because I lack any of the tools required to do a further diagnosis at this point, such as, I don't know, a leak down test, and because I wasn't going to go to the effort of removing the cylinder head, I decided to just...
There was a chance you could put cam in it
and it just works. Stick the new cam in it. But more than that, I put everything back together using all the old components that were already on the engine. From the rocker cover gaskets to the cam seals, and including that old timing belt. What? That's crazy. That is crazy talk. But look, replacing all of these components with new things at this stage, it's hundreds and hundreds of pounds. I don't want to install new parts only to find out that the engine is still damaged. I won't be able to return any of those parts and get my money back. But what about the rusty parts in the cylinder head that we saw? Well, with just a little WD-40 and some Scotch-Brite, they came right back around almost good as new, which, I'll be honest with you, took me completely by surprise. Eventually, after lots of faffing around and consulting El Manuel, most things were back together and in their proper place. The engine was timed up and we were ready to begin the main event. Got this old battery knocking about. Let's tighten those terminals up and let's put the key in the ignition. I'm not sure if I'm even expecting anything to happen here. But we'll soon find out. Oh, this car stinks. I keep forgetting about that situation. Okay, key in. Will anything happen? Huh.
I mean, of course, I don't know why I was expecting this to go smoothly and just work. So we had absolutely no lights on the dash. There was no horn, no indicators, no wipers, no mirror action, no window action, but the headlights and the hazards were working. I did a bit of poking around because this made no sense. I tested every single fuse in the car. I cleaned out this fuse box in the passenger footwell because of all of this water. I changed all of the fuses and I tested all of the relays in the engine compartment. But
this whole thing, all of this kind of diagnosis could have been just absolutely avoided if I'd have just started right at the very beginning and checked my fuse fusible links. So you can see there, that's alt, that's 140 amp fuse, and I've just pulled the top of it off, and you can see that it's broken. My fusible link there is broken.
For parts, press 3.
I need a 140 amp fusible link that comes straight off the battery. I don't know if you've got any of those in stock.
Not on the shelf. I can order them in. What was the registration of it again?
And how much is one of those?
29.44.
2944. Okay, yeah, if you could add that, that'd be great.
Yeah, no problem at all.
One of these will come tomorrow. Or what do I do for the? What do I do until these turn up? Yeah. Does anybody else ever do this where you just need one tiny little part and then it just halts the entire project for days? There's got to be another way around this. There's got to be another solution. Okay, and for my second ever bit of soldering, not too bad. Is it the prettiest? No. Will it do? Let's find out. Okay, so I've reinstalled the fusible link in there. Okay, do something, do something. Ah! We've got lights on, door light. This is lit up. Let's see what happens. Turn the key. Ah! No, no, off windscreen wipers. Okay, no indicators, but that's fine. Oh, such good news. That's such good news. Okay, look, we can see 201,122 miles. Okay, so what we're saying here is that I'm basically an electrical genius. Okay, so all of that electrical stuff was a bit of an aside, really. We need to get back onto this engine. And what I'm gonna do now is a compression test. Ooh, a compression test. That sounds fancy. But what exactly is a compression test? Well, in order... Well, in order for a petrol engine, or a gas engine if you're American, to have combustion, you need to have 4 key ingredients: fuel, air, spark, and compression. And compression is the aspect, it's the pressure in the cylinder. The piston compresses the fuel and the air for optimum conditions. And so when the spark sparks, there is a boom, a good boom, an explosion, combustion that pushes the piston down and gives you power. And so a cylinder that has good compression means that everything is kind of in order. The pistons are good, the piston rings are good, the inlet and exhaust valves, everything's sealing up, everything is acting the way it should. So as you can see here, I have my compression tester hooked up. Now, according to the manual, the optimum compression pressure, compression pressure is 192 psi or more, and that's that inner scale. The minimum it can be is 141 psi. So let's hope for 192 psi, that would be fantastic. Now you should do this on a warm engine. Obviously I can't start the engine just yet, so we're doing it cold. So it's not going to be, you know, the most accurate. We're not operating under the most optimum of conditions here, but that shouldn't matter too much. Now I have already put a drop of oil down into those cylinders, so let's just see how this goes. And what I've done as well is I've removed the fuel. I've removed the fuel pump relay because I don't want to be pumping fuel into the engine as we do this. Okay, so I'm going to put you in there and see what happens when we turn the key. 220 psi on cylinder 1. That is amazing news. That's way above the 192 psi that was recommended. So okay, cylinder 1, that's great. Only 7 more to go. I'm just going to do this really quickly and I'll report back the results. Okay, that's all done, and I have
6 pieces of great news, 2 pieces of not so great news. 215, 210, 195, 210. Very healthy numbers. And again down here, 230, 215. However, cylinders 5 and 6 got 155. That's not great, but the minimum required is 142. So it's kind of in spec-ish, but then the real problem cylinder is cylinder 6. So cylinders 5 and 6, which are the 2 trouble ones, is this one and then that one over there. So 5 and 6. I'm not sure that these values, those low values, necessarily indicate a broken valve. I think that if it was a broken valve, those numbers would be like near 0. So I think we've either got sticky rings that need to come back around, or there might be a lifter stuck or a bucket stuck or something like that. I mean, this car's sat for a good few years, right? So I have a plan. Another plan, hey! But this one was even simpler than any of my other plans. I decided to pretend that I simply hadn't seen those results and reassemble everything. I managed to source a new second-hand airbox pipe thing that I fitted with cable ties, and then I just turned the engine on and see if that had fixed anything. And I'm not sure if you can see down there, it might be quite hard, but this car is actually missing the catalytic converter on this side. It's literally just been, sawn off. So I don't know if there was a O2 sensor or anything. I imagine there is an O2 sensor down there that's missing. So that's not amazing. The cat on this side is present. I don't know if there's an O2 sensor in that one. I'm not sure what's going on. So that's not gonna make the engine run particularly well. Oh, and by the way, there's 1/4 of a tank of 8-year-old fuel in this thing. I did decide to fit new spark plugs though, but that's only because the car didn't come with any. They weren't the cheapest things. 8 as well. 8 of them. But yeah, I think this is a turn the key moment. And if anyone's ever done this before, it never isn't just worrisome. This is a big moment. I hope nothing goes bang, boom, kaboom, shoom, flume. I'm nervous, I'm procrastinating, that's why I'm just chatting. Okay, and of course if this does start, that cat being cut off, it'll be very, very noisy in here. What is going to happen, if anything? Ladies and gents, nothing for it. Oh, please. Straight away. That sounds, wow, smoke. We've got smoke. Let me open this door. It's rough, it's running rough. That sounds hilarious. It's running though, ladies and gents. Oh my word, the smoke coming out of this thing. Woo! That's, yeah, hang on. I'm stuck. So you can see that's a load of smoke coming out of that cat. It's running, but it's running rough. You can hear that. So smoky. I had to turn it off. I am literally gassing myself out. Got the big shutter open, don't worry, and the door at the back, so we've got a bit of a cross breeze. Whew. Ladies and gents, the engine works. I need to bring it up to temperature properly. I want to see if that cylinder comes back around. I'll compression test it again in a little while. But if it does come back around, this engine is somehow healthy, and I don't understand fully how with the damage that it had, but it was running rough, so let's not get ahead of ourselves. But let's just get this engine going again. I can't believe it. I'm just hoping that cylinder comes back around though. We're not out of the woods yet. That made me jump. Okay, so you can tell, as you can hear, it's all over the place, the revs. All of the lights are on, literally all of them. There's just smoke coming from absolutely everywhere. Everywhere. Sounds like it's choking out.
there aren't any leaks or anything. Right, I'm just gonna let this go for a little while and I'll update you in a minute. So I've reconnected my compression tester and, well, let's just crank on the engine and see if we get over 190 PSI like all of the other cylinders. Please, 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 come on. Just be healthy. Come on, what have we got? 200 PSI. Get in! Get in! That camshaft pulley had snapped off of the front of the camshaft. Now that is just the same as simulating a snapped belt. It would have the same effect if the engine was running when that happened. This is a healthy engine. This project is now viable. It's not economically viable because I'm about to throw a whole lot of money at this car now that it probably doesn't deserve, but it's viable in the sense of the engine runs. Yes, come on.
And so after discovering that the engine does indeed run, it was time to turn my attention to the chassis. These cars are notorious for rusting out, and I could no longer ignore this elephant in the room. I just needed to get the car up on the lift.
Okay, so now here's a test. Does it move? Can I get this car just to move backwards a little bit so we can get it up on the air? Woohoo! And we've got brakes. I mean, it definitely sounds like it's misfiring, doesn't it? In a rather big way. Well, how do I get out of here now? No, seriously, how do I get out of here? Oh. Oh. I'm stuck. Uh-oh. 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 Oh. Ow. Oh. Okay. 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 Yeah. So Landcruiser, it can take it. It's rock hard. Okay, so to my still untrained eye, this doesn't look too bad under here at all. So yes, it's scabby, but it's just scabby. There don't appear to be any holes or anything like that, or anything that might need any kind of welding or anything. So I mean, take a look at this area here, you know. Look, if you go like that, obviously bits are coming off. It's basically just the top layer of kind of like paint and, you know, a top layer of rust. And it's like that kind of everywhere. But I mean, if I was to just get a wire brush, look, you can see that it's all just surface level. All of it, everything is surface level. As you move down the car, you know, you can see every piece of metal under here is exactly the same, just scabby. And if we come back down the front, all of the ball joint boots, at least, all seem to be completely intact. There are no obvious leaks. There's no engine oil leaks or coolant leaks from anywhere. What we do have though is we have a whole stud missing here, so I'm not entirely sure how that's happened. The brake discs are obviously really rusted, but who knows if they might even come back around a little bit. And then of course there's this catalytic converter situation. What they've done is they've cut it off there, and then really annoyingly is they've cut it off there, and you can see that just goes into the back box and then down the end of the car. Now the really annoying part is that there would have been a flange here just like that one, and they've cut it on this side of the flange rather than on the cat side of the flange, which kind of makes this whole back box, I don't know, a junk part now.
But wait, there's more.
Hang on a minute. I've just noticed what's gone on here. It's blindingly obvious. There's no rear shocks. Surely that's where one of them goes and then connects up there somewhere, and then that hose that is dangling and leaking right up there, that goes into the top of the shock. Why are there no rear shocks on this car? Same story here, that's where it would have mounted there. Oh good. Oh good. Right, we'll add 2 shocks to the list. And they're not cheap either. They're £286 each. And a new exhaust system, excluding the catalytic converters, is close to £1,000. But luckily for me, I managed to find all of the parts I needed second-hand. What a surprise! For just a fraction of the cost. The catalytic converters even came with O2 sensors fitted. First, I fitted the new dampers. This job included trying to fasten the world's most inaccessible bolts. Then came the exhaust system. I had to remove the old parts, which definitely weren't all seized up and didn't require any cutting. And then I gently lowered the components to the floor. Piglet, go on. Once all of this was fitted, it was time to fire the car up and to see, for a start, if it was any quieter with the new exhaust, and also to see if the addition of the correct number of O2 sensors had helped the running of the car. Oh my word, that's so much better. Hey, that is really quite smooth. That's really quite smooth. Smoky again. Oh no, now it's getting choppy. It's getting choppy again. I think one thing I should definitely do at this point is check to see if we've got gearbox oil. Oh, absolutely loads. Gearbox oil, not a problem. Okay, one amazing thing to note here is that it does not appear that the alternator is charging. I'm getting less than 12 volts at the battery, which is obviously fantastic news. Something you definitely want to happen. Oh, please don't have a bad alternator. So that replacement exhaust has worked wonders for the decibels in the ears, but we still have a rough running problem to deal with. And I cannot send the car for an inspection with a gammy alternator. One of the possible causes for the rough running is an air leak, and that's where my good friends at Torque Monkey swing back into action, because they lent me a smoke machine to try and find the source. This thing is brilliant. You basically just plug it into the inlet and see where smoke escapes from, and then et voila, you have your air leak. I had 3. So I set about fixing the one in the airbox, which consisted basically of just resealing the joint. I cleaned up the throttle body and redid the clip for the hose, and I realised as well that some of the smoke was coming out of the rocker cover. I needed to create a new hose for this, and then that was sorted. But when I turned the car back on again, no, no, that's still rough. So at this point I decided to just scan the car and see if we had any fault codes, and we did. We had one for a wonky MAF sensor, we had a code for an ignition coil made of jelly, and we also had a dodgy O2 sensor on the right hand bank. Marvellous. And so because I'm trying to save a little bit of money, I did manage to pick up an ignition coil and a MAF sensor second hand, but I did have to shell out roughly £4 billion for a new O2 sensor. Either way, I fitted them all up and I crossed my fingers. Okay, come on, please, please, please. Please let this be the misfiring jerkiness over. I think everything's connected. Who knows? gassing myself out again. When will I learn? Ladies and gents, that is smooth. That is smooth. Yes. Yes. So I've got a question for you. What would you do if your daily driver started exhibiting the same rough running problems that we've just had with this Landcruiser? Would you know how to fix and diagnose that yourself? Or, let's face it, like most people, would you just take the car to the garage? How would you know when the garage presents you with a bill of, say, I don't know, £800, how would you know that that was a truthful and accurate bill and that they're not trying to pull the wool over your eyes? Now, unfortunately, you know, with the motor trade, there are bad actors and this does happen. But wouldn't it be great if you could be informed before you ever go to the garage? Well, I'm pleased to say that Carly, who are the sponsors of this video, have just released a completely free tool. Free, completely free, to help you do just that. And I'm going to use it right now to see how accurate it is. I am going to use it to diagnose the issues we've just fixed and see if they tally up. Okay, so this is genuinely so simple to use. Anyone can do this. I'm just going to input my car details, hit the show costs button. How high is your mileage? More than 150,000 kilometers. Do you drive longer distances or short distances? I will, if I get this on the road, drive short distances because it only does 10 miles to the gallon apparently. Yikes. Now we're presented with a whole list of potential categories for what your issue might be. We're going to be in engine and transmission, and then we get a bunch of symptoms that you can see is a big long list. I'm going to check unsteady engine, and then I'm going to hit next, and then it's going to quickly calculate a load of potential issues. And here we have it. The very first issue that we are presented with is for the mass airflow meter, which is just absolutely spot on and accurate. You can see here that the maximum cost is £640. That comprises really of a maximum of £500 of spare parts and a maximum of 1 hour to fit. And if I quickly flick over to eBay, you can see that here's a bunch of air mass sensors, and you know, they're coming in at around £105. And fitting one to this car, it's a 2-minute job really. So, and then if I go back to the top, you can hit this tab here for second issue. It says combustion misfires detected. But look, this second issue right here, the ignition coil is defective with a maximum cost of £220. That's absolutely spot on. Look here again on eBay, here is an ignition coil for this car, £46. And it's a 5-minute job on this car. It says maximum 1 hour. I have confidence and faith in this tool. And that's all there is to it. It really is as simple as that. And don't forget, this is completely free. This tool could potentially save you hundreds and hundreds of pounds from a garage giving you a dodgy bill. Now this would be fantastic paired with one of Carly's OBD scanners. This isn't free, but I can give you 15% off with my code NEV15. And the links for all of this stuff, the free tool and the OBD scanner, are all in the description below. I'd seriously consider using it.
And whilst I waited for my new alternator to turn up, there was still a whole load of smaller jobs to attend to before the car could be taken for its inspection. First off was fitting new headlight washer jets. These things are notorious for snapping off. Then I fitted a brand new, genuine Toyota indicator lens. It was actually pretty cheap, so I thought I'd treat the old girl. I managed to source a second-hand battery clamp to stop the battery just ejecting out of the car the second I hit the brakes. And then finally, my alternator turned up.
Aha! Yes!
Sorting this is actually quite an easy job. You quickly remove the drive belt, remove one nut, remove one bolt, unplug it, and then try to squeeze it out of a tiny little gap. Then it's just a reverse to install the new one.
Please have worked, please have worked. Yes. Yep. Absolutely spot on. 14 volts whilst charging. That is absolutely perfect. So the next job is an important one. I've now dropped this car down onto the ground, and as you can see, the car is sitting really low. That is not its standard ride height, and the reason is because this car has what's called AHC, which stands for active height control. Lots of cars have this. Most cars these days have some kind of air-based system, you know, like the Range Rovers, I think Audis, which means that you can use air in the shocks to raise and lower the car. This Toyota has a hydraulic system. So there is hydraulic suspension fluid that goes around everywhere, pumps around into all of the shocks, and you can raise and lower the car. Now, because I replaced those two rear dampers, that whole system needs bleeding, and those rear dampers actually need filling with fluid.
This job is very much like bleeding the brake system. You pour this very expensive suspension fluid that only Toyota sell into the fluid reservoir. You turn the engine on and watch the system raise the car. Then underneath the seals are a bunch of actuators with bleed nipples. Nipples. You open them, bleed the air out, which makes the suspension drop again. Then you tighten everything back up, turn the engine on once more, and hey presto, the suspension is sorted. And I can't quite believe that this system still actually works and there are no leaks.
And if I'm making myself sound very clever like a Toyota technician, fear not. I'm just I'm just reading the manual. It's all written in here. That's how I appear so confident.
And then one last little fix that has probably been annoying a whole load of you before taking this car out for a quick spin, just to make sure that everything is bolted down.
Mirrors. Yeah. So I'm only going to drive it around this industrial estate. It's not the public highway. I just want to see if it kind of drives around. The brakes work a little bit, you know, and things basically just don't fall off. Okay, so for the first time in 8 years, this car is going to properly move, I hope, under its own power. Please don't let anything go wrong. But hey, goodbye. We actually do have brakes. That's really quite something. Okay, we're still going. This is amazing. Woohoo! Okay, I am back, and well, she drives, let's put it that way. It wasn't too bad, if I'm honest with you. There's a few rattles, there's a few squeaks, there's a few little clangs. I'm not entirely sure what they are, but what I have done now is I have just booked this car in for its test, and mechanically I'm not going to do anything else to this car until it's been for the test. I'm going to use the test as the basis for the amount of work that I do next, because otherwise I could just keep going and going and going with this car, and you know, I wouldn't know where to end. But until then, until that point, what I am going to do right now is I'm just going to hose this thing down, because well, she's utterly filthy. Right, well, I'm sure all of this water has just helped the rust situation tremendously. Right, so I'm just working on the RS6, and I just got a call from John, who does the MOT inspections, to say he's had a cancellation and you want to go and just get it tested right now. It's like a whole day and a bit early. I haven't had time to warm the car up or anything like that, which is, yeah, I haven't even managed to put the under tray back on, you know, which is a big kind of no-no. Let's see if we can just let's make sure the old girl starts first. Oh, smooth as you like. Uh-oh. That does clear up when it's warm. Right, I'm just going to pop this over to John now, and look, I know this car is going to fail, but the question is, how bad is this car going to fail?
And after dropping the car off, it was just a waiting game.
Okay, in all seriousness, this is the longest MOT I've ever experienced, waiting for one, so I can only imagine that the list of things that John has got for me is vast. Now I'm actually quite nervous. How bad?
Failure items. SRS light is on, your horn's not working, you need a new set of wipers, you got a bolt missing off the offside front wheel, and your service brake is excessively binding on the offside front. And that, my young man, is all the failures you've got. I know it's rusty as underneath.
Yeah, but it's solid though, isn't it?
I can't punch you through anything.
It's solid, isn't it?
Right. Yeah. Apart from that, all your bushes are good, steering's good. Happy birthday, Nino.
Oh, thank you ever so much. A little bit late or early, I'm not sure yet.
Flew through emissions, no problem.
You flew through emissions?
I'll give you a report if you want.
Really?
I'll give you the emissions report.
That's amazing. Ladies and gentlemen, I can't quite believe it. This is the list of things that the test flagged. The only things that are preventing this car from being road legal are in this top section here. Right, well, let's get started on this and let's make sure that this old girl gets back on the road stat. The first port of call was the missing wheel stud. I've no idea why this car is missing it. And now, I've never had to deal with old school hubs like this that have the wheel bearing built in. But again, with the help of El Manuel, I began stripping them down using wildly undersized and inadequate tools. So if you're looking at this and thinking, that's a very small brass hammer, I'm inclined to agree. I bought this on Amazon the other day, and in the photo, it looked massive. But the reality is, I don't think this is going to do anything. So you can see that this is all one. Oh no, that was the bearing, just fell out the front into the dirt on the floor. Oh no, no. Oh, what have I done? I then managed to remove the disc and hub assembly, which went very smoothly. Yeah. And then with the disc separated from the hub, it was possible to press in a new stud and then just begin reassembly. But that wheel bearing that I dropped in the dirt, I had to fully clean it out and then repack it with grease. I watched a YouTube video for the proper technique to do this, and it actually went pretty smooth, if a bit messy.
The next job was to fix the bind-in brake caliper, but as I dug into it, I discovered that the piston boots were split. You can buy rebuild kits for these, but a second-hand caliper was the same price and a lot less work, so I opted for that.
I then installed a set of second-hand horns. This was easy peasy, lemon squeezy. Followed by a new brake bulb and a new number plate light bulb. Easy, squeezy, peasy, lemons. I also fitted new wipers all around. Peasy, lemon, squeezy, easy. Okay, and she is now back down on the ground. We have 5 wheel studs. I'm really pleased with the way this car has turned out so far. I have got to say, this car has been an absolute delight to work on. It's so nice, this car. I've not even really driven it. It's already getting under my skin, this car. There's just one more job now we need to do, hopefully before this passes its inspection. So we have our seatbelt warning light on, and that is because this car does not have a front passenger seatbelt. It has been removed. Why? I do not know. But what I have here is a replacement. Second hand, obviously. You didn't think I was going to put a brand new seatbelt in, did you? All this is 3 bolts, just one up there, 1, 2 down there. Plug it in, the electrical connector in, and then we should be good. There we go, look, new seatbelt connected. So I just took her for a quick spin. The brakes feel lovely, everything feels lovely, and absolutely no lights on the dash. The airbag light's gone out. This car needs to go for its retest. I really hope that I have done enough to make that car road legal. Just fingers crossed. I'll tell you what, out of any car that I've had on this channel, there are none more deserving than that old girl to become road legal again and to come back from the dead, which is a tough old thing. Let's just hope I've done enough. Off-road, hey! No, don't do that, that's just silly. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you the mighty Toyota Landcruiser. She's road legal. What a car, what a car. Sat for 8 years, 201,000 miles on her. I've put almost no new parts on this car. It's got the same old oil, the same filters, air filter, oil filter, fuel filter. It's got the same, those rusty disc brakes have come back around. It's got the old timing gear on it. And not only that, but everything works. The electric mirrors work, the heated seats work, the power seats work. Absolutely everything about this car is just immense. I love this thing. Absolutely love this thing. And it's not like this car is only just running. This car is running beautifully. Oh, what a car. What a car. Perfect timing. Absolutely perfect. Go on. Well, I don't know why you've parked there, but...
I thought you were going to reverse this, to be honest.
What do you reckon?
Why don't they? This is lovely.
That's my favourite bit.
Yeah, this is my favourite bit.
You seen the inside?
Is it working now, yeah?
It's working.
Hey! I mean, it's a grot bag, but yeah, brilliant.
I haven't cleaned it. So it's still got the green mould.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I need to clean it. I need to do a lot of things, but
it's working.
it's working.
Well done.
Thank you. It might be worth a little bit more than £2,000 now.
Yeah.
Only a little bit, but... What do you think to a Toyota Landcruiser?
You like it?
It's a Toyota Landcruiser.
Job. Yeah.
Do you like it? It's a petrol V8. Vroom, vroom.